Hi, it's Sam and I'm back with another video. Today I have a card that's going to be up on the Lawn Fawn blog. The products I use today are the Christmas Dreams, Snow Much Fun, Den Sweet Den. I actually don't end up using Winter Skies. I thought I was going to do Santa and his sleigh across the background, but I don't end up using him. But I do end up using Yeti or Not, which I'll show later, and then the Stitched Hillside border dies and the Puffy Cloud border dies. I don't know why I show you these stamp sets in the beginning, because I always use things that are not, that I don't show you, or I do use some and I don't. Oh, that reminds me. I also used the Starry Sky stencil, and I'll show you that later as well. This is an organic work in progress. So as usual, I'm starting my coloring by spritzing some water on my craft mat and lightly damping, very minimally getting my water brush wet. Then I'm going to color the bear, and I start by using my medium shade of brown along where I want the shading to be eventually, and I just do a light line basically of color. Then I use my damp water brush to pull the color to the rest of the image. And once that's done, I add my dark color in the same areas and pull that out a little bit with my medium color again, and then use an even lighter color to drag that out again. And that adds the shading that I like. And I'm actually only going to color the bear, this bear on camera. The rest of the bears I color the exact same way, so I figured I would save you some time. And then next up, I'm going to start the fireplace. And I wasn't sure about the color scheme in general at this point yet. I tried to think about it before I started coloring, but alas, it was not meant to be. So I decided to go with a gray brick. I just used a medium kind of gray to color the edges of the brick. And then I used my water brush to blend the two sides of each brick together, kind of. Dilemma number 2 with the fireplace was what color to use for the mantle. And after I take this phone call, I'm just kidding. I went with a light gray, but I will change that later to a wood. I was like, oh, I don't want to do brown. There's too much brown on the card. But I do use brown. So I like how it looks. I use the same light gray though to color all the top of my stockings and the Santa hat. And then I go on to color the actual fire of the fireplace, which wasn't hard at all. I just used some reds on the bottom and yellow on the top and blended it together with my water brush. And it looks, I like how it looks. Looks pretty good. I mean, you know, we're not going for lifelike here. Then I went on to use a black and the same gray that I used for the bricks to color the, I don't know, flue? I don't know. I don't know my fireplace anatomy, the inside of the fireplace. To color my Santa hat and the stocking, I used my favorite red combination, which I start with actually a brown, then use my red marker to go over that same area. I use the brown, then a medium red, which is almost an orange, then use my damp water brush to pull the color out, and that makes it more of a red color and less of a pinky red. So it's, you know, it's personal preference. And here is where you can guess where I'm going. We're going rainbow, people. I had to add rainbow somewhere in this card, and the stockings were it. I also color the milk and cookies, which are pretty self-explanatory. Nothing groundbreaking here. I'm not sure if I show it on camera or not, but I do add some dots and texture to the fireplace because it's brick. It's dry kind of at this point, so I use the same gray marker and add dots. I mean, that's all it is. I mean, I think the technique is technically called stippling, but it's, I mean, I'm going to use the word technique here very loosely. And I just add the dots to my brick to add the texture. Like I said, I add it in this gray marker, and I will show you in just a minute. I also add it in the white gel pen in the same areas. I like the two different colors next to each other, so you'll see. You'll see momentarily, but like I said, it just adds a little bit of texture, and here is where I couldn't stand it anymore, and I just had to make it a brown mantle. Now we're gonna move on to the background, and I'm using my super fancy, super unique, super coveted plains ruler that my boys have had for years and years and years. They don't even know it's theirs anymore. They got it when they were so little, and now they're not little. So yeah. Anyhow, so I use my super fancy ruler to measure where I'm going to have the blending, which that all ends up to be fruitless anyway, because I end up covering it up with my snowy hills and stuff. But I didn't know that at this time. Please see earlier conversation about not pre-planning. Okay, so I am using Distress Oxide inks in Blueprint Sketch, Mermaid, Lagoon, Wilted Violet, and a little bit of black at the end. I'm I'm going over all the colors multiple times, many times. This is what I do. At this point, I'm like, it's too blocky. I can see where the purple is and where the blue is and where the teal is. So I just go over it a bunch till it's blended out how I like it. I did know, shocker, fasten your seatbelts. I did know I was going to use a stencil at this point, but so I knew I didn't have to make it super perfect. But again, I wanted it as close to all the way blended as I could. Just flipping the mask so I don't get the ink that's on the paper on my stencil, because I want the embossing paste to stay as white as possible. And I'm just going to smear on a nice thick layer to add the texture of that starry, snowy sky. And I really like that. I mean, this is not new to me. I like it. And then we're done. Just kidding. But I had to set it up when all my pieces were cut and everything was dry to make sure that I knew how my scene was going to look. So that's it. And I'm going to use my pieces I die cut for the stitched hillside borders and puffy cloud dies. They're not clouds this time though. They're snowy, puffy banks of snow. Anyway, I first glued down the mama bear, as I call her, and then after I glued down my chimney, I'm like, oh, whoops, wrong snowbank. So I just moved her, but that's okay. It was no big deal at that point. And I'm just using the glue to glue everything down. As you can see, I use my acrylic block to hold down the chimney because the stars are textured, which is what I was going for, but it is hard to glue things down to that, so I'm just keeping the pressure on. Nothing crazy. And the cookies and the stockings and all of the little bear cubs are all popped up with foam tape and glued on. And now I am in my dilemma of, what do I use for a sentiment? I decided to go, I first was going to do have a berry cozy Christmas, because who can resist a pun? Look at these cute bears. But it was too long, I thought, for me on this card, so I'm just going with have a cozy Christmas. But next I'm thinking, do I want a black strip for the cardstock, for the card, which is what I usually do, or do I want vellum? And I went with vellum. I thought it would add a little bit more whimsy and Christmas magic and fun to this card. While my bears are being held tight and snug and securely in place, I am heat embossing my sentiment on that strip of vellum in white, and editing magic, it's done. I just folded over one of the edges. I'm going to put it behind the card. That's how I'm going to attach it mostly. And then I am using my glue pen to just add teeny tiny dabs of glue into some of the letters. And then, you guessed it, my acrylic block is coming back for some action. But basically, guys, it's done. I love this card. I think this is such a sweet little wintry scene. If I had to pick a bear to be, it would be one of the ones sleeping because I love sleeping. and being cozy. And I just think they're so cute. And I love that little kid trying to sneak a cookie. Santa would not mind, I promise. Thanks again for watching with me. And if you want to, head on over to the Lawn Fawn blog and see my card there too. Thanks again. Bye.